it should
And
be.
it's not. Is it red in yours?
No.
Now it's on. Because you know what? It's 6:30. So this is maybe the time when we should begin. I don't know. But anyway, I would like to say hello to everyone. It's again very nice to meet you. And today we will try to have a look at market analysis. It will be part 1. And today the prefix for Quizbrary is, as usual, NJA, but the code is 790. You can find it on chat because I entered it there. So you will see the code for the exercises. And maybe it will be necessary to refresh the page because there is a new version of Quizbrary, so you know how to refresh the page. I hope that everything will be okay, but you've got this information on the chat. I posted it 23 past 6. There is also a document in Word that we will use later, but I posted things more or less at the same time. And I think that's basically right now everything that we should know. And we are now coming to the definition of market analysis. And of course, as usual, there is a general one, which says that it is a thorough, it is very exact, very, very detailed, very accurate assessment of a market within a specific industry. And you will study the dynamics of your market, such as volume and value, potential customer segments, and below you've got the information. Customer segments are individual groups of customers that share common characteristics, okay? Buying patterns, competition, and other important factors. This is taken from Business News Daily. And if we narrow it down, and if we think about property valuation, then a market analysis is a process for examining the demand, it's a very important word, for and supply, and these are market fundamentals, popyt and podaż, right, of a property type, and the geographic market area for the property type. This definition was taken from the Dictionary of Real Estate Appraisal, the 5th edition. And I decided to put the source of the information because here we come across the word appraisal, because I think that we cannot pretend that the United States of America do not exist. They exist. They also do property valuation, but people who do property valuation in the United States, they do not call themselves property valuers, but they are property appraisers or just appraisers. That's why below you've got appraisal. It is a valuation, okay? So on the left, you've got the American word. On the right, there is a British one. And appraiser, it is the same as valuer in the British English, okay? And why is a market analysis so important? Well, first of all, it identifies the highest and the best use. And I think that quite often people in Polish simply say something like this, highest and best use, but basically highest and best use is optymalny sposób użytkowania of a property, which of course below you have explained in a very official way that it is reasonably, probably, and legal use of vacant land or an improved, it's that it's like upgraded property, that it's physically possible, appropriately supported, financially feasible, and that results in the highest value. And let's go just one by one, all these things like physically possible. Physically possible, it is that it means that we determine the uses which are physically possible on the property. And this step considers only physical potential of the property. So it must be physically possible. It must be legally permissible, right? So we have to contemplate all restrictive covenants. Do you remember what restrictive covenants? You know, like what you can do on the property, what you cannot do, right? Building codes, it's like zoning codes and regulations, easements. I would like to remind you the word from one of the first meetings, height limits and the like, as well as whether the current use is a legal non-conforming use or not. And what is a non-conforming use? Well, it happens that some time ago, it was possible to carry out some activity on the property, but the regulations changed and it's not legal anymore. But people still, let's say, carry it out. And this is a non-conforming use in English. Financially feasible. It means that for uses that are reasonably probable because they are physically and legally permissible, the valuer or appraiser performs various financial analyses and calculations to determine their financial feasibility, wykonalność finansowa. And you've got feasibility in brackets and also the link to the pronunciation to practice it. But now, just for a second, I would like you to focus on the word analysis and analyses. Why? Especially when we come to market analysis, we will have a lot of words that come from either Latin or Greek in English. And I don't know why, but it's been like ages, centuries that the English people, let's say, borrowed these words from those languages, but the words still have the original plural form. So it's not like in English that you normally add s or es and that's it. Here, as you can see, we have singular and it's analysis. And look at the pronunciation. The ending is sis, analysis. And when it's plural, you can see that final I changes into E. And look what happens in the pronunciation. It's analyses. And we have to say sees at the end because it means plural. We don't like it because we don't have, or we have a different rule in Polish. When we speak Polish, all the sounds at the end, we devoice them. So we don't say b at the end. Nobody says chleb. Everyone says chleb. And even if we have z at the end, we always say s. And in English, we should work hard to say analysis, analyses. So hard, later on you will see there will be another word and it's the same story. Singular and plural, the same as in the original language years ago. Okay, and the work, I mean that if you do, and if you want to see if it is financially feasible, it may include market analysis, cash flow estimates, in brackets szacunki przepływu środków pieniężnych, and net operating income projections, projekcje dochodu operacyjnego netto. A potential use generally is considered financially feasible if its net present value is greater than zero, right? And the net present value, its wartość bieżąca, zaktualizowana netto, applies to a series of cash flows occurring at different times. And the present value of a cash flow depends on the time interval between now and the cash flow. And it also depends on the discount rate. Discount rate, stopa dyskontowa, stopa procentowa, another word to learn. It is the interest rate to calculate the present value of future cash flows from a project or investment. And net present value accounts for the time value of money. This is a special expression, wartość pieniądza w czasie. And only uses of the property. And again, for example, this is not the word that comes from Latin or from Greek, but which is very important. If you say use with S at the end, it is użycie, sposób korzystania, right? If you say use, it means używać. So that's the difference between a noun and a verb. Różnica pomiędzy czasownikiem a rzeczownikiem. So it's really quite complicated when we think about Polish because we always say use, and that's it. Here it is a noun, so we talk about uses. It's use is, unfortunately, because it's in plural, that satisfy the first three tests. So it means that it was physically possible, legally permissible, financially feasible. Yes, then we can come to the final test, which is maximally productive. So the valuer ranks the remaining uses according to the value or rate of return. Stopa zwrotu. Adjusting, it's like, you have to correct a little bit, adapt a little bit, right, for associated risks. And the rate of return, in braces, you can see the abbreviation. So, they do not want always to say rate of return. It's just ROR, is the net gain or loss of an investment over a specified time period expressed as a percentage of the investment's initial cost. This means that the use with the highest internal rate of return, IRR, might not come out on top if the use is excessively risky. And then this internal rate of return, wewnętrzna stopa zwrotu, is the annual rate of growth that an investment is expected to generate. And the use with the highest risk-adjusted IRR and NPV is the maximally productive use, and ultimately the thing that we started with, the highest and best use of property. But it's not everything, okay? Why is a market analysis so important? It is also that we can find data that will support us to select comparables. For short, comps. Calculating adjustments and forecasting income. The data collected will form, all the basis, the grounds for our further valuation. And now, I think if I say what the comps are, it will sound similar, I would say, because they mean properties that possess similar qualities such as size, age, location. Factors also include market condition, such as changes in price over time, as well as conditions of sale. So for example, if the property was sold as a distress sale or forced sale, sprzedaż wymuszona, or an estate settlement, postępowanie spadkowe, or any other factor that could affect its value. So comparables, comps, I think it sounds really very similar to the Polish comps. We say a similar property. But if you talk with any English friends or property valuers, if they say comps, comparables, you know that if you say similar property, they will probably understand you, but the better word is a comp. And the Act on Real Estate Management defines the term similar property in this way. It is a property comparable. So again, you see there is a word compare, porównywać, to the one being the subject of the valuation procedure in terms of location, legal status, purpose, usage, and other factors influencing its value. And according to common national valuation standards, I changed principles into standards after Małgosia's suggestion that it has been already changed. The valuation procedure should take into consideration only the properties which were the subject of the sales transaction on the date preceding the valuation date, but no earlier than 2 years before the valuation date. Application of prices from other periods requires detailed justification. I think now it's been like a lecture that probably Mirka delivered, but in Polish some time ago to you. So now it's time to check if you have fallen asleep, or maybe you were listening to me carefully, because it's now time for the first task on Quizbrary. So if you enter www.quizbrary.com and please refresh the page, and if you enter the prefix NJA, and then the code 790,790, you will have the first task testing if you have slept or not. How is it going? It's quite difficult, I suppose. Well, great that it's not too difficult. Are you slowly finishing? Yes? Okay, great. So I hope that, as Mirka says, it is not so difficult, which is great. So we come to something which is called the depth of the analysis. And here, of course, depending on the property type, market, type of assignment, there are different levels, depths of the analysis that must be consistent. They must go along with the intended use. And then we have, like, some kind of continuum. On one side, we have an inferred analysis. Infer in English, it is wnioskować, right? And it is quite often called a trend analysis, analiza trendów. So this is like one extreme, one end, and then we have some kind of continuing, and we come to a fundamental, very, very deep analysis that, so it's like going from macro to micro perspective. So one side is a trend analysis, and on the other side, we've got a fundamental analysis. And inferred analysis, trend analysis, is based on general historical trends, which the valuer uses to derive, conclude general inferences, and to make general projections about the future. And this analysis mostly relies on secondary information or data sources. Yes, so you study someone else's studies, surveys, and so on. And here I put infer, wnioskować, inferred, wnioskowany, inference, wniosek, just to know the new word. So this is just one side. Then we come to the other side, the other extreme, a fundamental analysis. And it is explicitly quantified and quantifiable data, wymierne dane. So the information that can be quantified and can be verified objectively by agreed measurement scales. So it is quantified in detail to derive a specific conclusion about the present, and I like this expression, educated forecast about the future. And the fundamental analysis relies on your own problem-specific data searches and surveys. It's called primary information data, so sources. So secondary, it is because it is from somebody else. Primary, because it is your own. And now, in a second, I will ask you in your breakout rooms, I will put you into breakout rooms to try to translate in your little groups the table that shows levels of market analysis. And I know the trouble you will have, but I want you to experience this trouble first to know why I want to discuss it a little bit. But I hope it's clear that on the left side, you've got inferred analysis, and on the right, you've got fundamental analysis. Here you have where the emphasis is put on, yes? And as you can see, you've got A level, B level, C level, D level. So the first two levels belong to inferred analysis. Yes, so we go like, from that extreme that depends on secondary data, is inferred. and then we move on to the level C level and the D level, right? And just I am putting you into breakout rooms. So your task is with your friends, your partners, to translate this table into Polish, okay? Okay, I think we are all back, hopefully. And now we move to another thing. This is a little bit connected with English grammar, because probably when you were translating or when you tried to translate some expressions, you noticed that they were quite long and it wasn't only one noun, rzeczownik, but it was a noun, and a noun. And basically, I call it a syndrome of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. This is the title of the Beatles song. And if you look at it, like band, rzeczownik, club, rzeczownik, hearts, rzeczownik, lonely, przymiotnik, Sgt. Pepper, człowiek, rzeczownik. And if you want to translate it, you basically have to start with this word. So you go to the end. So this is grupa, zespół. And then you go backwards. Zespół, klubu, yes, you go backwards. Zespół klubu samotnych serc sierżanta Pepera. And why do they do this? It's because they do not have, the way we have in Polish, conjugations and declinations. They use, instead of this, prepositions, przyimki. We hate them. It's on, at, in, with, and so on. But then the constructions become very, very long. Because, for example, the tax you pay on your income, you can simply say the income tax. A doctor from London is a London doctor. A desk in the reception of the hotel is a hotel reception desk. So, you know, here you've got three nouns. Desk, biurko, reception, recepcja w hotelu, right? So, biurko w recepcji w hotelu. A table that you need for a game of table tennis. I think it's really nice. It's a table tennis table. Sounds strange, but in English you can repeat the same nouns a few times. Or the championships in swimming for all the world, mistrzostwa w pływaniu dla całego świata, you can simply say the World Swimming Championships. So if you translate it, you start from the end. Mistrzostwa w pływaniu świata. And especially when you read scientific texts, or if you write something like this, you have to use these compound adjectives and compound nouns, because otherwise your sentences get very, very long. And to see if you can do it, you have to do lesson 6, task 2. It's a short exercise, just a few examples where you have to change the expression, like, for example, the tax you pay on your income, into the expression the income tax. Okay, let's see if you can do it, if you know how it works. Okay. Okay, I was just answering some questions. I hope that everything works if someone uses the telephone, the mobile phone, I mean, that the Quizbrary works. But I got the message from Magda that it works, so that everything is okay. Well, it was probably, I think the biggest problem here is just to, let's say, if you did the exercise, to remember to put a, your, the, and that's where it was so easy to make a mistake. But it's because we are Polish and we simply ignore things like a and the. They do not exist, in our opinion. But if you have at least the word order, which is correct, that's great. So let's continue, because I was Magda. I will try to do this. Okay. Well, now we come in England or in the United States of America. They talk about 6 steps of market analysis. And they say that it starts with property productivity analysis. That's the first step. Then it's market delineation. That's the second step. Then it's the demand analysis, the supply analysis, market condition analysis, and subject marketability analysis. And now let's have a quick look at all these steps. So the first step, property productivity analysis, it is where we simply try to define, to determine the product. So we want to evaluate and analyze how we can use the land productively. It means it is the highest and best use. And the attributes or features of a property are examined to determine marketability, it is zbywalność, in terms of specific services it provides and the specific needs in the market it satisfies. And here we have market attributes or features. Theoretically, it is not the same as market characteristics. Characteristics, it is a broader term, general. So as you can see the example in the table, characteristics may be legal or regulatory, maybe physical, maybe locational, and attributes are, let's say, specific examples. So the example of legal characteristics is, for example, an attribute of a building height, roof slope angle, physical, its characteristics, and the attribute is, for example, a Bosch dishwasher. Locational characteristics, it's main road distance attribute, sea view, school, parks, and so on. Okay, so there is a difference between characteristics and attributes or features. Okay. Then we come to step 2. It's market delineation, wyznaczenie granic rynku, because delineate, it is define the borders, right? So we try to identify the geographic area where a majority of competition is located and from which a majority of demand is drawn. So we define the users of the property and identify boundaries of the potential users' demand of the subject property. And boundaries are typical the perimeter, granica, of a geographical area within which similar dwelling units, so it's the place, the buildings where people use, are present. The age, size, and general condition of dwelling units are similar. Generally similar price range, and the incomes of the residents' households are somewhat similar, and land uses are harmonious. And then a market area may be divided into 3 types of market: primary market area, secondary market area, or extended market area. Primary market area, it is the people who already live within the area and have the means and needs to buy the product. And it is characterized by high penetration. Secondary market area, located outside of the primary market, larger amount of people, but semi-high penetration. An extended market area, everything outside the secondary market, huge amount of people, but very low penetration. Market penetration, penetracja rynku, is a measure of how much a product or service is being used by customers compared to the total estimated market for that product or service. Step 3, demand analysis. Well, we have to measure the demand, or at least forecast demand factors which reflect current or ongoing market appetite for the specific property. And it refers to willingness and ability of people, consumers, to buy goods and services at different price levels during a period of time. And it may be determined by many factors, such as the interest rate. And in brackets, I give you the Polish translations of these words that I think that maybe are new. Economy level, price, rental price, income or wealth, expectations, availability of loanable fund, size of the market, and net migration patterns or rates. I think this is something that I would like to focus on for a while, because I think mostly when we think in Polish about migration and immigrants or emigrants, we think mostly about people coming from other countries, but people can migrate within their own country. And people who move into some area, then they are called immigrants. And if they move out, they are called emigrants. And here, I would like you to come and do the next task today. It's listening, and it's listening about migration patterns. And I think that it is quite interesting. And if you enter the task, it is task 3, listening. I hope you will be able to click the link, and I hope it will open. If not, I will put the link on the chat, so you will be able to copy it and paste. So I am just doing this. But I hope that you will be able to open it from Quizbrary, okay? If you can't open it from Quizbrary, you have it on the chat. So, how is it going? So,
Although this film was quite long, it was
yes.
6 minutes. So
Minutes, yes, yes.
probably that is why people just concentrate on
That's good.
it.
That's it was just
And then the test. So
yes, but I was just thinking if everything is okay because Magda
yes,
lets me
yes, it
know
is.
that she had some problems, so. But does it mean that you finished? Some other people too. So yes, great. Great. I know it was quite long, but I hope that it was interesting because I don't know if in Poland we talk too much about net migration patterns, but I think they are the key issues. Yeah. So I hope that slowly you are finishing it. And then, we come to step 4 and supply analysis. Simply, you have to measure competition. So you have to answer the questions that you see here. And, you have to, having answered them, you have to move on to step 5, which is market condition analysis. So it is basically the study of how buyers and sellers interact to determine transaction prices and quantities. And here come some beautiful words like the valuer analyzes the interaction of supply and demand in the residual demand study. Badanie popytu rezydualnego. So I think I like it more in English than in Polish, but But, well, residual demand study simply analyzes market demand to determine if market is oversupplied or in balance or undersupplied. Yes, and in residential valuation, at this point, inferred methods, so you know this level A or B, are typically used to analyze the interaction of supply and demand by noting whether the market area is a buyer's or seller's market. And then we come to step 6, marketability analysis. Marketability, it's zbywalność, so it's analiza zbywalności, and it focuses on how a particular property will be absorbed, sold, or leased under current or anticipated, so forecasted market conditions. And it focuses on a specific property and how it competes within a specific market. Here, you, the valuer, you want to determine the property market capture, so how it can attract. It represents the amount, typically expressed as a percentage, of total demand that a property can be expected to attract currently and into the future. And in English, if you talk about short-term capture, then you talk about absorption. When you talk about a long-term capture, then you talk about a market share. And time to come to the quiz, checking the 6 steps of market analysis. I suppose that you are slowly coming to the end of the exercise. And now you are maybe experts and you know everything about 6 steps of market analysis. But I guess to be perfect experts, we have to do some other things. So when you finish, I think we will continue to something a little bit different, I think. Okay, so do you think I can start talking about the next subject? Okay, so we come to these beautiful pictures. And why do we come to them? Because I think market analysis requires some, let's say, mathematics, some graphs, and we have to know how to describe them. And I put here, let's say, 6 basic types of graphs. And as you can see, the first one is a pie chart because it looks like a pie, ciasteczko, right? Then you see the line graph because you've got lines. Then you see the scatter plot or scatter graph. And later on, we will talk about it separately. Because it's very useful in your valuation, I think. And then there is a bar chart. A bar in English, it means, it's got a lot of meanings apart from the place where you can come and drink, but it's also a chocolate bar, tabliczka czekolady, or bar, kraty w oknach, right? So you can see bars here. That's why it's called a bar chart. You can have a column chart or an area chart. And here I decided to put some useful vocabulary which will help you to describe graphs. For example, you always, when you start describing graphs, you should start with introducing the chart, yes? And here you've got a few sentences that can help you to introduce the chart. So if it is a graph, so you can say these lines represent. If it's a bar chart, you can say these columns are. If it is a pie chart, these segments are. If this is a table, because it may be a table, not necessarily a chart or a graph, you can talk about rows or columns. You can say that something represent or present or illustrate or show a trend, a continuous change. Or the bar chart below above represents the total. You know, I was just imagining sentences of sales for product A and product B over 3 years. Or it illustrates numerical proportion or the relation between categorical variables. Variable, it is zmienna. Categorical, it is zmienna jakościowa. And numerical variables, zmienne ilościowe. In a second, we will, you know, if you have a line graph or a scatter graph or any graph, you've got 2 variables, yes, zmienne, x and y. Or, for example, the pie chart below represents the proportion of something and something. So first you simply introduce the graph. So you say what it shows. Then you have to describe the changes. And here I decided to, you know, like give you some categories. So if something goes up, so you've got the verbs connected, the change up. So increase, double, multiply, exceed, or it goes down. So decrease, drop, decline, plunge. Or if it goes up and down, it's fluctuate. If it's the same, so it's stable or remains constant. Some changes may be described as gradual, a little, sudden, sharp. When it reaches the top, we say it reaches a peak, its highest level, and it can go down to the very bottom, so it sinks to reach the lowest level. Then it may shift, so we can talk about leftward or rightward shift, or it shifts leftward or rightward, or simply it crosses, so we say the lines, curves, cross, intersect, or simply meet. So, you know, first the introduction, then we say what happens if it goes up and down or if it's stable. And then, you know, we have the axis. And this is what I told you. Here below you have, again, the same story. Look, axis with I, it is singular. And then it simply changes into E, yes. Remember, of course, that in English, E is I and E is in Polish. It's quite confusing, but you can see it hopefully. So I hope you know what I'm talking about. And here in singular, it is axis and axes. Yes, ease. And it's funny because I think it's even possible to come across this kind of spelling, which I suppose reflects saying ease, something like that. So we have the y-axis, which is the vertical one. Vertical, it's this one. And the x-axis, which is the horizontal one. And the lines or curves may have a positive slope or a negative slope. We can say that something is distributed on the horizontal axis, yes, or that the x-axis of the bar chart presents the categories being compared, for example, and the y-axis shows a measured value. So this is how to describe the graph when we come to conclusions. So we say overall, generally, a key significant area is, an important point is, this seems to suggest, and so on. And now, in breakout rooms, I will ask you to analyze the graph. We go back to the kingdom of Charles III. This time you will analyze the sales of properties in his kingdom. And to see the graph, you should go to chat, to the very beginning of the chat today. And it was at 6:22 that I posted a file with a chart with a line graph, which I want you to analyze. I hope you will be able to open it and see it in front of you. Could you please confirm that you can open it? You can find, first of all, if you can find it, open it and see it. Yes, so I can put you now into the breakout rooms. Give me a second to do this. Sorry, I've made a mistake. Wait a second. No. Okay. I hope that Anya is writing something. Okay, we will see what she's writing. Where is the graph? The graph is at the beginning of the chat. If you go to the very, very beginning of the public chat, it was posted 6:22. Yes. Okay. I cannot see Anya's. Magda wrote ha 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 at the top of the chat. I think that some people simply could not see it. Maybe it is my mistake. Sorry for that. I put it there, and I hope that everybody could see it. That's a pity that not everyone was able to see it. But I think that Mirka, very good. Read the chat. Okay. So Mirka, congratulations. I can.
try to do my best.
I am really really happy. And now, when we are coming to like towards the end of our meeting, I would like to at least introduce one new thing. I don't know if you've ever had maths in English. America is highest of the best. Sorry, I should keep my face straight, and I should not. Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think it's not the first observation here, because when I visited Mirka in the other room, and there was another person, the person said the same thing about Mirka. So Mirka, it's great. But anyway, if you've never had a lesson of math, I think today, I don't know how much we will manage, but definitely next meeting will be about this. But one trivia is like an interesting thing about computing, about counting. And I don't know if you know that, like, people were analyzing for more than 3 decades to check if people who are bilingual, they speak 2 languages fluently. But of course, they usually start okay, so it is, let's say these are the children whose mom is Polish and dad is British, or, Polish, Spanish, British, French, British, and so on. So these are people who speak 2 languages fluently, bilingual people. So the research confirmed that bilinguals, so people speaking 2 languages, who learned a second language in late childhood or adulthood, favor the first language for mental computations. So if I theoretically, or according to these things, if I ask you right now, not to calculate, not to count 2 times 2, because that's easy. But if I ask you like 123 times 245, you will tend to translate this into Polish and calculate it in Polish, because it's your, let's say, first language, the language in which you learned to count, than to do it in English. And they also, that the research shows that the bilinguals are also faster at remembering numbers and solving mathematical problems in that language. So this can be a little bit difficult to you, but I hope not, because we come here to the introduction of a scatter plot. And the scatter plot, it is, if you look at this is this thing. This is this graph, yes? A scatter plot, a scatter graph. So it is an XY diagram. So we have two variables, and it shows a relationship between two variables. And it is used to plot data points. Again, you've got it in Polish, on a vertical AY axis and a horizontal axis and X axis. And now just a quick thing again about, let's say, English. Look, here we've got A, here we've got N. Why is it A here? Why is it N here? Just one thing. Although this looks like a vowel, że to jest samogłoska w pisowni, just like this one. But in English, we decide if we say e or n, not because of the spelling, but because of the pronunciation. So because we do not say I, but we say y, so we begin with w. That's why you've got a y axis. And because X is beginning with E, it is a vowel, samogłoska, in the pronunciation. So that's why you have to say an axis. If you practice it, it's really hard. Axis is a difficult word. X-axis, and then you have an X-axis. A good tongue twister wykręcacz języka, you know, like what a woodchuck chuck, if woodchuck could chuck wood, all these things that it's difficult to repeat. So we have two variables, X and Y. The first variable is called independent. You've got the Polish words for this. And the other one is dependent, right? And a scatter plot, that's why it is important for valuers, because you can predict, you can see in future the behavior of one variable based on the measure of the other variable, the independent one. And sometimes people call the dependent variable a response variable, and the independent one is called explanatory or predictable variable. And then the line of best fit, this is very important for you, najlepiej dopasowana linia, is a trend line. And it is used to help us make predictions that are based on the past data. So, you know, this is a short introduction to the lesson of mathematics in English. I hope it hasn't been too difficult so far. And I think we will finish it next time. So I think you will be able to digest all the information. And I would like to say a lot, like thank you very much for the lesson, for the participation in the lesson today. As usual, it's been a pleasure, and I am looking forward to meeting you next Wednesday. So thank you a lot.